Yo, what is up, everybody? Chris here from Fake Sports News, back at it again with another video. Today, I'm going to be bringing you guys a quick recap as to what happened during today's matches, that, of course, being day one of CDL Champs, as well as what you guys can expect going into today's matches your time, that, of course, being day two of CDL Champs. Now, yesterday, we kicked things off with the Minnesota Rokkr taking on the Dallas Empire, and you guys know I was backing the Rokkr to win 3-2 over the Empire, as you can see on the screen down below, my beautiful face. And that didn't come to fruition. The Empire came out really hot and they got the 3-0 victory. So now onto the stats. You guys know the rules about 3-0 series. We don't go map by map here. We just look at the series stats. So looking at the series stats, everybody on Minnesota just got outslayed. They got outslayed every single map, and it's reflected across the board, right? Looking at it, Shotzi had a 1.68. He was going absolutely insane. Illy had a 1.34. Krim had a 1.24. Vivid had 1.06 to round it out. So the Empire just put up a really great effort, and they coasted to the winners bracket round 2, where they will face the Ultra tomorrow. More on that in a little bit. On the side of the Rokkr, this was just a really rough match for them. Of course, Sandy had a 0.82, Major had a 0.69, Priest had a 0.69, and Attach had a 0.89. So your AR duo having matching 0.69 KDs is not what you want, and your subs not being able to crack a 0.9, obviously you're not going to win the series. So there's not really a lot to talk about there. The hard point was 250-147, the S&D was 6-1, and the control was 3-1. So it was a dominating performance from the Empire across the board. Looking ahead to our second matchup of the day, we of course had the New York Subliners taking on Optic Chicago. And you guys know I was expecting this series to go either way. I thought this would be a really, really close one. And I knew it was going down to a game 5. I just didn't know who would walk away with the victory necessarily, because these two teams are so evenly matched and they were at a deadlock in the season series 2-2, and I think there's a 1 map count difference in the season series. So looking at map 1, that of course being Checkmate Hardpoint, this is Optic's strongest hardpoint map. They were 11-3 going into this, and they lost at 250-110 to the Subliners. Really dominant performance from the Subliners. Then the Subliners followed it up with another dominant performance on Express S&D, that time winning 6-1 with a very clear statement. Optic brought it back though, of course, winning the Checkmate Control 3-2. Clutching up big time in the round 5 behind strong performances from Dashy and, of course, Scump. And then on the game 4, APOC Hardpoint, not going to talk too much about that. It was 250-96. Scump dropped 29 kills, and he had a 1.8 KD, so that was just his map. And then looking at the game 5 S&D, this was a heartbreaking loss. Of course, Optic lost 6-4 to the Subliners, and this is where they got sent to the losers bracket, where they ended up, of course, playing the Florida Mutineers. So looking that's, of course, the Optic side. I mean, everybody went positive except for Envoy. Scump had a 1.26. He was absolutely frying. Formal had a 1.03. He looked great in the series. Dashy had a 1.08. He looked great as well. And Envoy had a 0.8, even though he had some very brilliant performances like in the control. On the Subliner side, of course, Asim had a 0.94. Mac had a 0.82. Clay had a 0.98. And Hydra was frying with a 1.13 in his Champs debut. That's actually insane. So everybody, with the exception of Hydra, has played at Champs. Obviously, Clay has a lot. He played the first one, and he's played at everyone since. So this is his first Champs, and he dropped a 1.13. Hats off to Hydra. Very, very impressive. KD leader in the lobby behind Scump. And, that's very typical. So looking at Optic's form, they looked really good in the series, and Subliners looked even better. You guys know I was doubting them after the long hiatus, but they really proved me wrong here. And, they gave us a great series, which is all any of us wanted, so can't be mad at that. Very typical on both sides. And on to the next series, which, of course, was LA Thieves versus Rokkr. So looking at the Thieves versus Rokkr series, I want to keep it short and sweet. This one was much closer than really any of the other series that we had. These teams were trading blows, as this was our first elimination series of the day. And unfortunately, because John just had a really terrible performance, the Thieves got bopped out, but they had a really good chance of winning the series. Of course, the game 1 Checkmate Hardpoint was 250-213 in favor of the Thieves. As I always say, don't challenge draws on Checkmate. I mean, that's just been the story this year, but he had a 0.78, so maybe they should chow draws on Checkmate. Don't chow Slasher on Checkmate or Kenny, because they were 32-22. They had matching KDs. And then in the game 2 S&D standoff, it was a 6-3 in favor of the Rokkr. This is where they brought it back and really just kind of stabilized in the series. And then they followed it up with a round 5 win in control. John went 18-38, so he just really struggled in the series. And if he played a little bit better, this would have been a very convincing win for the LA Thieves. They had a lot of map control and just a lot of pressure, but John just played pretty badly. and that's brought them down. Of course, looking at the Gary hardpoint, that being map 4, the Thieves were able to win this behind strong performances from their AR duo, that of course being Slasher and Kenny. And on the Minnesota Rokkr side, everybody went negative, so that's the story there. And then on the Miami S&D, the Rokkr just pulled it out. They played as one, not to sound too cheesy, and they were able to rally behind Priest's really strong 13-5 Game 5 performance to win this series. Now, I'm going to get into the series stats, but overall, this was one of the more entertaining series on the day, along with New York versus Optic. This one definitely lived up to all the hype, and it really set the tone for all the losers bracket matches that will follow this weekend. Now, looking at the series stats, it's very apparent that if John had a much better series, then the LA Thieves would have obviously won a lot earlier, and they'd still be in the tournament right now. Looking at it, obviously, John had a 0.58, as you guys can see. Draza had a 1.02. Kenny had a 1.15. And Slasher had a KD identical to Scump. He had a 1.26 to match. So, I mean, the guy put up 20,000 damage. That's got to be tough. He was matching Priesta, right? So, it's really hard to say that Slasher didn't deserve better at this champs. But, you know, if a guy's going neg 42, what can you do? No hate towards John, but it happens sometimes. Sometimes you get ultra blended. And unfortunately, that happened for John, and that knocked Thieves out the championship tournament. And then looking at the Rokkr side, this was a big bounce back for them after no one on the team went positive in their last series against Empire. Sandy had a 1.01, Major had a 0.94, Priest had a 1.15, and Attach had a 0.94. The Rokkr really needed this bounce back, even though I don't think they beat either Atlanta or New York tomorrow. This is important for them, right? You can't lose both matches and get double bopped out after winning the major. It's such a terrible look, and you can't really recover from that. So good for them, and very typical. Looking at our next series, that of course being our last series of the day, we had Optic Chicago taking on the Mutineers in the losers bracket, and this is a great series. I think that honestly, this could be the catalyst of an incredible champs run. This could be the catalyst for a historic losers bracket run, similar to what I guess Seattle almost did at Major 5. And what Dallas has done earlier in the year when they got to the grand finals in Major 4. So, of course, looking at the stats, Moscow hardpoint was an absolute blowout, 250-102. This has been one of Optic's stronger hardpoints really for the last few weeks. They've been lights out on it. Even from the beginning of the year, this was a stronger map for them, but lately they've been absolutely lethal on it, and they continue that today, putting Florida in the 100-point club, I guess you could say. They were close enough. Game 2, S&D on standoff. This, of course, went 6-2 in favor of the Mutineers, which was pretty surprising to me. Optic has been a very, very strong standoff S&D team. Going into this, I believe they were 5-2, so I wasn't expecting the Mutineers to take it to them like this. And then looking at, of course, Game 3, that being Checkmate Control. Check Control is one of their stronger control maps, and Check is just one of their stronger maps, period. And, of course, you know, Scump, Formal, and Dashy, all you can eat, right? Soup, salad, and breadsticks. So 3-1 for Optic. Very dominant performance from the AR duo and King Scump holding down the flame. And then looking at the Game 4 APOC hardpoint, Optic might be the best APOC hardpoint team in the game right now. I'm kidding. But they beat New York and they beat Florida, so that's very encouraging for them. This is a map that going into the day they were 1-4 on. I was very scared in the New York series, but then I was like, you know what? This is Optic and it's champs. I think they win map 4. I told my boys that, and of course they won map 4. So we'll see if the APOC can continue for Optic. Maybe they'll keep letting it through. Maybe teams will keep ego challenging them on it. But they're looking really good on it right now, and they're playing spawns very well. So their hardpoint's looking scary. They just need to clean up their S&D, and then they'll be in a really great spot. Their control is also looking very, very good. So Optic's in a great spot. They just need to clean up small things in their S&D, and then they will be real contenders this weekend for a championship. And I think they will clean it up going into tomorrow, but more on that in a second. So looking at the series stats, the Mutineers this season, they just weren't a LAN team. Every time they went to LAN, they lost in Game 5s to New York. Their 2 previous LAN appearances, of course, one with Decimate in place of ASIM, and then at the other LAN, Diamond Con in place of Clay. So they couldn't even beat New York with a sub, so that's just tough. Looking at the series stats, though, enough rambling. Scump had a 1.3. He was having a day today, man. He's in the lobby, or close to the KD leader both times. Dashy at a 1.32. He became the KD leader in this series. Formal at a 1.15, and Envoy at a 0.92. So Envoy just had a couple of, series where he's a little bit behind, but he was keeping up close enough to not, negatively impact his team and to get the win. Looking at the Mutineers side, Skies had a 0.95. Neptune had a 0.71, Havoc had a 0.82, and Wake had an even KD. So, I mean, the Florida Mutineers, they were just not there today. Neptune had a really bad day. Neg 22, Havoc neg 12, and that's the story right there. Subduo got tucked to bed, and that's going to make it impossible for the ARs to win unless they have like insane carry performances. But you know, this is champs. You know, if you're not playing on all cylinders, then that's it. So that's a really great takeaway for Optic. This is good momentum for them going into the rest of the tournament, which leads me to my segue for tomorrow's matches. So looking at tomorrow's matches, we of course kick things off with the Dallas Empire taking on the Toronto Ultra. I'm very curious about this matchup as I think the Ultra will definitely walk away with this one. I think the Ultra are the stronger team between the two, and I think that's why they walk away with this series, either 3-1 or 3-2, depending on map set. I think it's going to be an extremely close series, and I think Dallas is going to play them very tight, but I just think Ultra is the better team, and they've been playing together a lot longer than Dallas, so there's a lot of intangibles that you can't really compare between two teams like this. Of course, looking into our next matchup of the day, we have Faze taking on the Subliners, and you guys know I always get excited about this matchup. This is always a banger, no matter who wins. You guys know I'm backing my home team, Atlanta Faze. I thought I wasn't going to hit the wardrobe change and change into my Faze gear. Come on, man. But anyways, I think Faze walk away with this victory, either 3-1 or 3-2, depending on map sets. But because it's champs, I think we get nothing but game 5s tomorrow. I think that Faze winning the game 5. I think it's going to be an absolutely crazy express S&D. I think that's what gets through for map 5. I think Faze take a 6-4. So let's hope that comes to fruition. Let's hope my boys clutch up. And let's hope they bring a chip to the city. Atlanta's down bad, okay? And the losers bracket matches, I'll touch on those very briefly. I'm thinking that honestly, in the form that Optic is in right now, I think that whoever drops to them is going to lose. I think the Optic is really pulling it together at the right time. Their respawn has been looking absolutely incredible. They took hard points off of the New York Subliners, and they beat the Florida Mutineers very convincingly in both hard points both times. And Florida's been a very solid hardpoint team all year long. I mean, the map one, I believe Florida was like maybe 8-6 or something. Like they had a pretty good record on Checkmate Hardpoint going into it. And, you know, Optic was able to take that off of them. So that's why I think that going into tomorrow's matches against, of course, the winner of Empire Ultra and the rest of the weekend, I think Optic has what it takes to make a very deep run. I think they'll go over their S&D woes and figure out what went wrong, and they'll come back tomorrow even better. And I think that's why they win the series against either Ultra or Empire. No matter who drops, I think Optic wins. Conversely, I think on the other foot for the Minnesota Rokkr, I think whoever drops into their side of the losers bracket, albeit I don't think that Faze will drop that way. I think they'll be subliners just based on the ring rust they have. I think that honestly, Rokkr's just not in the form that it takes to beat a team like either the subliners or Faze. And I think they will get bopped out of this tournament. I think they'll lose here 3-2, and I think that's the end of their tournament run. It's a very typical run that they've made so far, but I just don't see this continuing. I think it's kind of a Cinderella story, and I think it has to end at some point. But based on how they played the Thieves, I just don't think that Rokkr are that team that we thought they were. I think it's just kind of a mix of a lot of different factors that led to that stage 5 win. So yeah, guys, that's going to do it for me. I think we have nothing but game 5s tomorrow, and I'm thinking that the winners will be Toronto, Faze, Optic, and then of course New York Subliners. So I'm thinking that we're going to have a pretty interesting Saturday, and I'll see you guys for those matches tomorrow, your time, today my time, or however this works. The grind never stops. Hope you enjoy this video. Hope you leave a like, comment, subscribe, etc. Help to get the channel's engagement up. I love all the support that you guys have been showing. I love each and every one of my subs, and I appreciate you guys. So season's almost over. Thanks for everybody who supported the grind all the way through. Special shout out to my family for always supporting me, and shout out to the subs. Love you guys, and thanks for all the support. Catch you guys in the next video. Peace out.